Yom Tov. Good day. This is Stephen Bruck with Messianic Moment Ministries, and welcome. So today we're asking Christian or Constantinian. Well, wait a minute. Isn't Constantinian the guy who ran the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, where some of the modern Christian doctrines were first formalized? I mean, didn't they say Christ was divine there? And didn't they set up the Christian holidays, such as Easter? Actually, they had Easter already, but they just couldn't decide what day to celebrate it on. Yeah, so if we're asking whether someone is Christian or Constantinian, isn't that really the same thing? Well, to answer this, let's go to the cloud and ask Wikipedia. Here's what it says about Constantine. Now, I've condensed some of this to save space. Constantine was the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity, although he lived most of his life as a pagan and later as a catechumen, which is, I had to look that up, that's somebody who's converted but hasn't been baptized. He joined the Christian faith on his deathbed when he was baptized by Eusebius of Nicaea. He called the first Council of Nicaea in 325, which produced a statement of Christian belief known as the Nicene Creed. He has historically been referred to as the first Christian emperor, and he did heavily promote the Christian church. Now, as for the definition of Christianity, Wikipedia says, Christianity is divided between Eastern and Western theology. In these two divisions, there are 6 branches: Catholicism, Protestantism, Eastern Orthodoxy, Anglicanism, Oriental Orthodoxy, and Assyrians. Restorationism is sometimes considered the 7th branch. Now, to add to what Wikipedia says, within these major divisions there are many sects, such as the Amish, Mennonites, Anabaptists, etc. In all, there are over a dozen different religions that call themselves Christian, even though some Christian religions have beliefs in opposition to other Christian religious beliefs. And just for the record, Judaism isn't too far behind with this: the Hasidic, the Orthodox, the Conservative, the Reformed, the Reconstructionist, and what I am, Messianic Jews. Although the other sects of Judaism would not recognize Messianic Jews as really being Jews. So, getting back to the original question, let me set some ground rules. Christianity is, for the purposes of this discussion, following the teachings of Jesus Christ, who is Yeshua HaMashiach. A Constantinian is someone who follows the doctrines of the church, meaning all the doctrines established at the Council of Nicaea and at ecumenical councils ever since then. So a Constantinian is someone, for instance, who celebrates Christmas, Easter, Sunday, Sabbath, ignores the Torah because it's just for Jews, fasts during Lent, obeys the 8th-day baptism rules, goes through catechism, etc., etc., and so forth. Now, we need to identify what is different, if anything, from the teachings of Yeshua and the doctrines of the church, which I refer to as Constantinian doctrine. And yes, I know Constantine did not create all the doctrines of modern church, but again, for the purposes of this discussion, we will use the term Constantinian to refer to modern church doctrine. Okay, well, to answer this question, it's actually pretty simple to understand, really. If Christianity is following the teaching of Yeshua, then whatever is in the Old Covenant is Christianity, because Yeshua didn't teach anything else. In truth, there was nothing else to teach from. Even the Talmud wasn't written down in its complete form at that time. The Talmud is composed of the Mishnah and the Gemara. The Mishnah was written in about 200 CE, and the Gemara not till 500 CE. So everything in the New Covenant was not written until well after Yeshua was resurrected and raised back into the heavens. The earliest versions of the Gospels and letters from Shaul, Paul, to his newly formed Messianic congregations that were throughout the Middle East and Asia probably were not written until sometime around 50 to 60 CE. So, because there was no New Covenant, Yeshua could not have taught anything from it. I know, you're probably thinking, well, duh, Steve. Of course he didn't teach from the New Covenant, because what he taught became the New Covenant. And I would say that makes sense, except for one thing. It's wrong. Within the New Covenant, we have the Gospels, which are eyewitness accounts of the life and ministry of Yeshua, and the letters that were written by the apostles, ending with John's revelation. Now, nearly 2/3 of the entire New Covenant is made up of the letters from Shaul to the congregations he formed, and their intent was to help these newly converted believers to stay on the course he set them upon with regards to following with regards to learning how to follow the teachings of Yeshua, which, as I stated earlier, are the instructions in the Torah. Now, the major source of confusion between Christianity following Yeshua and modern church doctrine, Constantinian, is that Shaul's letters were not written to become doctrine. They were written only to help guide these neophyte believers in learning how to go from the gluttonous, sinful, sexually perverted lifestyle that they lived their whole lives as worshippers of paganistic gods to righteous, humble, and self-controlled followers of God and Messiah. Hey, that's quite a paradigm shift, and no one could do that cold turkey. Shaul's letters were never meant to be absolute and permanent doctrine, but instead just sort of stepping stones designed to help get his congregations past their immediate problems and further along the pathway to living what we would call today a Jewish lifestyle. This is what's really the major problem. When we compartmentalize God's instructions in the Torah as Jewish worship, we are restricting what God wanted to give the whole world to only about 1/4 of 1% of it. The Torah was given to the Jewish people to learn so that they, according to Exodus 19, as a nation of priests to the world, could bring it to everyone. God has no religion, only those instructions for how to worship Him and how to treat each other. And that is what Yeshua taught. The Pharisees had been teaching only the written word or the literal meaning of the Torah, which we call the Peshat. But Yeshua taught us the spiritual meaning, which is called the Remez, so that we would know not just what God wanted us to do, but why we should be doing it. For me, the answer to the original question is that true Christianity is the religion which follows what Yeshua taught, which means following the instructions found in the Torah, which the world calls Judaism. That means Christianity is Judaism, but with one difference, of course. The Christians accept that Yeshua is the Messiah God promised to send, and mainstream Jews do not. And I think about it, given how many doctrinal differences there are just between, let's say, Orthodox Jews and Reform Jews, one would think that this difference, meaning Yeshua being the Messiah, would not keep us that far apart. But it does. And the reason is because of how Constantinian doctrine has become known as Christianity, which separated itself from Judaism so much that they became totally different religions. If you call yourself a Christian, but ignore the instructions in the Torah, well, you're a Constantinian. If you are a Gentile who accepts Yeshua as your Messiah and lives according to the Torah, in other words, what we would call today, for lack of a better term, a Jewish lifestyle and Jewish form of worship, you can call yourself a Hebraic roots follower, a Messianic Gentile, or a Christian, but you are not a Constantinian. And if you are Jewish, like me, by blood, you live according to the Torah and believe Yeshua is the Messiah, you are not a Christian or a Constantinian. You are a Messianic Jew, which means you are still a Jew. So, there you have it. A Constantinian will follow the modern-day Christian doctrines, but a true Christian will follow the Torah. Also, a true Christian and a Jew should worship and live the same way, and only disagree on the matter of Yeshua. One day, finish up, one day, when the Messiah comes to straighten this whole religion thing out once and for all, we will have no more religions, no more doctrines, no more confusion, and no more hatred and bigotry. We will only have God, Messiah, and eternal peace. Now that's what I'm talking about. Thank you for being here. And please remember, subscribe. Click on the icons here on the video, on the website, in the right-hand margin, click on the subscribe button. Comments are always welcome, so long as you can be nice. I appreciate your being here. Please check out my books. And until the next time we get together, Lihitrot and Baruch Hashem.